want to get back to your stuff. Like, just a random question. Like, what's the hardest bump you've ever taken?
I would say it was my own bump. It was Jalen.
Okay, everybody. We're back with another super special guest. Today is Championship Harvest, episode number 14, and we have Sam Holloway joining us today. Thanks so much
Hey,
for.
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Let's just get right into it. If you just want to tell the people like where you're from, a little bit about your background, upbringing, everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am from Akron, Ohio. I started wrestling of August of 2022, so I've been in the business for about a year and a half now. Um, the way I got into wrestling was I was always a fan, and throughout high school I played all sports: football, basketball, baseball, and then throughout high school I had the opportunity to play college football. But deep down, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be a professional wrestler, so college football didn't last very long, and then I found myself at the AIW Academy in Cleveland, Ohio.
Mm.
Started training from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, what would you say is like your like one of your favorite early childhood memories of wrestling, whether it's like an event that you went to or just, like a pay-per-view you may have watched or just some of your favorite guys in general?
Yeah, a match that I always remember, which is kind of a weird match to remember, was Armageddon in 2006. The ladder match between the Hardys, Eminem, Paul London, and Brian Kendrick,
Mm,
and William Regal and Steven Taylor. And it's weird that I remember that match just because now I can say I've been in the ring with Paul London. So it's kind of
mm,
just all like a surreal moment now.
right. Yeah, that's awesome. And then you touched on it a little bit, but what made you actually decide training? Like you said, you always kind of wanted to be a pro wrestler, but what made you take that step of like, okay, I'm gonna begin doing this for real?
Um, Overall, I would say just happiness in myself. I wasn't happy in college football. I love football, but that's not really what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm.
And I knew pro wrestling was. Overall, just being a happy individual is what made me get into pro wrestling.
Yeah. No, I got you. And then just like, what were some of those early challenges you faced, like training, like any surprises or just things that, were kind of challenging for you in the beginning?
A surprising thing that was challenging for me in the beginning was actually something as simple as running the ropes
Hmm.
because my trainers were Derek Dillinger and Dominic Guarini, who I'm 5 or 6 inches taller than. So they couldn't really train me in running the ropes because I just had longer strides than them. So I had to watch more film of people like Kane and The Undertaker to figure out how many strides they took in the ring. So while usually people are taking 3 to 4 strides rope to rope, I'm usually taking 1 or 2. So
Hmm.
that was a weird adjustment for me off the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I mean, I've never tried it, but you always hear that just running the ropes is harder than a lot of people think, like it can bruise your ribs and everything like that. So
Oh yeah, it's terrible at first, and it's a really weird feeling putting your trusting those ropes and putting all your weight into the ropes. But after a couple tries, it becomes natural.
yeah. Yeah. I've seen a couple wonky where the ropes are warped and stuff like that. I'm like, I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
how long those are gonna hold up, but
yeah, you can see it all, especially on the indies.
yeah. Yeah, and then just, like, what would you say just so far, fast forward to now, like, what's your favorite in-ring moment to this day?
My favorite in-ring moment, I would say uh, my match with Matt Cardona at Gauntlet for the Gold last year. There was a lot of moments in that match where we kind of just let the moment breathe and listen to the crowd, and
Mm,
it was very surreal being in that type of situation and having that opportunity.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna get to the Matt Cardona stuff. I've seen him mention you a few times. But yeah, that's awesome. And then just, like, what, would be some of, like, the best advice you've gotten so far, whether it's, like, a veteran guy or, like I know some indie shows bring in, like, prior WWE people. Just what's some of the better advice you've gotten since you're, so early on?
Definitely letting situations and matches breathe and giving things time because people like Mance, Warner, Josh Bishop, Matt Cardona, they've all told me, like, hey, 10 seconds to you is 2 seconds to the audience. So the longer the moment lasts, the less it feels to the crowd. So you want to wait as long as you can until where you think it's too long. That's where it just feels right to the audience.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people would, just feel awkward, like, some people feel awkward in conversation when there's silence, let alone, like, when you're supposed to be doing stuff with your whole body and stuff like that, so, that's
Yeah.
great that you're, learning that so early on. But then just I've never seen you in person. I'm a Pennsylvania guy,
Mhm.
but I saw, like, just your name popping up here and there, Twitter and stuff like that. I'm like, "I gotta check this guy out." And then I saw one particular Big Dan. I'm a Big Dan fan,
Yeah. Love Big
PPW,
Dan.
and yeah, he's a lot of people in PA love him also. And then his specific quote was something like, "You are everything he wanted to be at your age."
Mhm. You're right.
What does that mean to you? Like, that was a massive quote. That's what probably I think that first thing is what made me check you out.
Yeah, so me and Big Dan have been on a lot of shows together. I remember my first memory of Big Dan is I was a student at AIW, and we were working a Thursday show at a bar called the Winchester, which Big Dan was booked on. And Big Dan does the beer drinking in the middle of the match and everything, and he left me in charge to make sure I hand him the full beer while I was working the security rails. And that was kind of the first experience I've had with Dan, and he's kind of always had my back ever since. So it's very cool to see someone like Big Dan just always looking out for you and always making sure that you're doing well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Seems like you have a lot of support so early on, which is great to see. But I just want to pivot, do some fun side questions. Do you have a Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling?
Mount Rushmore, yeah, I would say John Cena for sure, um, Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy as just my personal favorite, and then
Mm,
someone that I would put in the Mount Rushmore now is probably Gunther. He's definitely
mm,
the guy I study the most, and
yeah.
he's, I believe, like the most believable wrestler right now.
Yeah, yeah, he's incredible. He makes you can feel the intensity. But yeah, he's great. And then do you have any dream matches, whether it's, indie scene or obviously the bigger stage?
Yeah, I have a couple. One big one I'd give out is I really want to get in the ring with Keith Lee from AEW. He's
Mhm,
someone that when I started training, I watched a lot of his NXT work, and I kind of reflected myself as Keith Lee, just being too athletic, big man. Um,
mhm,
Another one would be Gunther, obviously, just because of his believability. And then across the indies, I've always wanted to get in the ring with Bounty Keith. I thought because
mhm,
he's one of those guys that's just killing it all the time right now.
mhm.
Trying to think of more East Coast guys. Oh, I never got a singles match with Alec Price.
Okay.
He's someone that is just so creative inside the ring that I just feel like him and I could just do so much.
Yeah, no, those are great answers. And then the nickname Hardway, where does that come from? Did somebody coin you or give you that? Did you coin that yourself? Where's that origin story?
So that was given to me by AIW promoter John Thorne. Before debuting, we were just pitching a bunch of names and nicknames, and he kind of just like, "You're Sam Hardway Holloway." I
Mm.
didn't know what Hardway meant. He goes, "Just figure it out." So
Yeah.
that's kind of been for the year and a half. I'm still trying to figure out exactly why I'm Sam Hardway Holloway, but I think that's kind of the enjoyment of the fans that get to watch me grow up and watch my journey. So that's why
Yeah, I was gonna ask if
what
you've
I'm trying.
figured it out yet. Yeah, when I think of hard way, I just think it's like your opponents are choosing the hard way,
Right.
calling you out or something like that. I think it's a great
Exactly.
nickname. And then just how much of a fan are you? Are you watching every Raw, SmackDown, AEW? Like, do you watch it all or you just catch what you can?
Yeah, so I usually so I'm usually training during all the show hours, but I tape
Mhm.
all of them. Like I just actually got done watching Raw this morning.
Yeah,
So I usually try to catch Raw and SmackDown live and also the PLEs, and then AEW is usually taped and I can usually watch it throughout the day the next
yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I saw somebody else in an interview talking about how, being a pro wrestling fan, it can be a full-time job between TNA, AEW, just all the shows. You can watch it every single day of the week if you really wanted to. But then just looking forward, like WrestleMania, like, do you have any matches you want to see? Like, any predictions? I think the only matches confirmed so far are like Io and Bailey, and then you got, Cody and Roman. But Gunther, like, what do you think is gonna happen with him? Any other predictions or matchups you can see happening
I
until then?
I think we'll get Gunther and Gable again at Mania.
Mm,
I think that because they just had so many great matches earlier in the year. I think they'll
yeah.
run that back at Mania. I think The Rock is gonna include himself in that singles match, and they'll make it a triple threat, which is exciting.
Mm,
And then obviously Bailey and Io with their ongoing rivalry of Damage Control, and then that'll just be an exciting match because there'll be so many people involved.
mhm. Yeah. Do you have any who do you think will win the chamber? I feel like, if I had the choice, I think Drew or I'd love to see Randy Orton win, but I think Drew McIntyre is gonna get that.
I think it'll be Drew McIntyre. I believe he just makes the most sense, and he's been killing it as the past couple months on his promos. It's just it's crazy to see Drew McIntyre because obviously he's changed a lot since his debut, but even
Yeah.
him now, since he last had the WWE Championship, he's really stepped it up in his promos and his mic skills, where he's just on another level again. So
Mhm,
as soon as people catch up to him, he's just progressing even more. And then as for the women's, I think Liv Morgan's gonna win it. I like the whole story of the revenge tour, but
mhm.
I could see Becky winning it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of, a lot going on, and then, just back to Mania, like, do you think, what do you think happens with that United States title? Logan's holding on to it. I would personally like to see LA Knight and Logan Paul. I think that would be
Yeah,
good. But do you have any idea with that or
I would like to see LA Knight just because he's probably the hottest thing going
Mhm,
on in the WWE on that level.
right.
And then it'd be cool because they could bring back some clips where LA Knight's just trashing Logan Paul on the mic real quick, like he
Mhm.
did on Raw. So they could have some cool callbacks there.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. It's a lot. So much to figure out still with such little time. But I just want to get back to your stuff. Like, just a random question. Like, what's the hardest bump you've ever taken?
I would say it was my own bump. It was J Lit Night 1 of this year. It was me and Chuck Stone where I gave him a sit out choke slam from the top rope.
Hmm.
That was easily the most painful thing I've ever done, surprisingly. Just landing straight on my backside was easily I w immediately was about to be crying in the middle of the ring. It was so painful.
Yeah, yeah. And then just I know like I always find it fascinating asking people like on the indie scene, just kind of like how do you work on promo stuff? Because I know they don't always there's not a lot of opportunity for them to give you a mic and just let you rip it live. You practice it in the mirror. Like how do you just kind of get used to that?
Yerp, yerp. It is I, Adrian Soriano,
Matthew Oldman, Gabriel Hatter,
and
baby.
we are All Fight, No Flight, Primal Fear. And we hope you're enjoying this Apples and Grapes podcast.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and let's get back to the action.
Yeah, so in the car before I go into the gym is a lot of
Mhm,
moments, or in the gym in front of all the mirrors they have, depending on how busy the gym is, and then
mhm,
obviously, yeah, in the bathroom, and then as far as like the opportunity when I get to do promos, whether it's on Twitter or in person, the route I usually go is I have his name's Pedro. He works a lot within AIW with ticketing. He's kind of the leader of everything.
mhm,
He kind of writes me up a script, and then me and my buddy, who's also a wrestler, Shelby Wilder, we develop the script into something I would say, and then we
mhm.
kind of go over it, and then we just go and film it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then you are just, pretty fresh in, but I think it's good to get, perspective from every level and experience level. Like, what advice would you give to somebody like, you are fairly young yourself, like we said, but just maybe like 16, 17, want to get into wrestling? Like, do you have any advice?
The advice I give to somebody 16, 17, don't be scared. The wrestling business is a business like no other, so it's always awkward at first, but just get your foot in the door, and just be coachable and willing to learn. And then also, the better shape you're in the first day you get in, the easier it'll be.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then just what are some things that you still notice yourself working on? Obviously, like the moves and the promo stuff, but like, what do you really kind of want to hone maybe like this year, or like that you're really kind of locked in on for the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. Some big things that I'm working on right now and then going forward is strikes are one thing because working on my punches, upper European uppercuts,
Hmm.
forearms. Those are things in wrestling that you don't call. You just do every match. So it's always a good thing to have crisp. Another thing that I'm always working on now is to make sure when you're pinning the opponent that you're covering the shoulders and it looks like a legitimate pin. A lot
Hmm.
of people will just do a very lazy pin cover, and it just doesn't look right. So that's another big thing I'm working on. And the final thing that I'll mention that I'm working on is camera work. So always looking for the roaming cam in the middle of the match, and also posing towards the hard cam before and after matches, or whenever I get the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all great stuff. And then what is there anything just about the business as a whole that may have surprised you or that, is interesting to learn, that you're kind of, getting in there now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So first starting, I wasn't very well liked by the locker room of
Hmm.
AIW.
Why do you think that is?
So I grew up with football. Obviously, as if you were to put in a situation in football, if you're a freshman, you don't speak unless spoken to.
Okay.
So that's kind of the mindset I had, which is the complete opposite mindset you want as in
Mm,
the wrestling business, where in the wrestling business, when you show up anywhere you are, you immediately give everyone a handshake and ask how they are.
mm,
So that took me a long time to kind of switch over to. I'm like, oh, this is the correct way in the business. So
yeah.
that was definitely the one thing that surprised me the most getting started.
Yeah. Do you think it was more, I mean, you said the football culture, but like you didn't want to overstep like any boundaries, or what do you think made you kind of take that
Exactly.
approach in the
Yeah.
beginning?
Yeah. It was definitely, I just didn't want to disrespect anybody of their time. So I just, if someone needed me, I figured they'd reach out to me and I wouldn't cross anybody's toes. But in the wrestling business, they want everyone to be very vocal with each other and they want everyone to, they want everyone to be kind of with each other and not just quiet in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just currently, like, who are some of your favorite people to work with, whether it's a match or just like training buddies? Like, who are just some of your favorite people right now?
Yeah, a couple to name are people like Derek Dillinger. He's one of the head coaches at the training, so me and him are always working back and forth. This year so far, I've caught myself working with Josh Bishop a lot, and the reason I enjoy working with Josh so much is just because he kind of gets being a superstar, if we will. He
Mhm.
understands the look and how to look at the cameras, how to deliver a good match. And then another people I like to just kind of talk shop with and train is the tag team PME, which is Philly Marino.
Mhm.
And they've been in the tag team game for a long time, so it's cool to get their perspective on a lot of things.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then just what are some things like some events coming up and just things from you we can look forward to in general?
Yeah, so I can't announce where I'll be at this Saturday, just because I'm not allowed to.
That's okay.
Next Thursday, I will be at AIW at the Mercury Lounge for the Leap Show, and
Mm,
then the following week I'll just be doing some networking in Chicago, and then I don't remember what I'm doing the week after that. So
that's okay. A lot to come up. A lot to look forward to. Uh,
yeah,
and then just like, would you like to expand? Like, I know indies, you kind of stay with the home base for a little bit, but like, how much would you? Is there any PA shows, like any particular promotions you'd like to see yourself in within, even like the next couple years?
yeah. So I'm willing to work everywhere and travel everywhere. I'm not trying to stay tied down to one area, just like the Midwest. I'm looking to eventually venture out to the West Coast. Um,
Mm,
I guess one place on the West Coast, because I'm more familiar with it, is West Coast Pro, just because Derek Dillinger does wrestle there quite
mm,
often. So I think it'd be a great opportunity to work there. Um, I'm getting some opportunities in Canada. Like I get to work
oh, wow.
Greektown all the time, which is awesome. In March, I get to work at Alpha One, which is Ethan Page's promotion. So that'd be a cool opportunity as well.
Yeah. Excellent. And then just outside of wrestling, do you have any hobbies? I know it's tough if you don't like it's okay if you don't, but training full time, I'm sure you work also, but just any hobbies or interests outside of the ring.
Video games. Still play a lot of video games.
Yep, me
It
too.
all depends on the type of game, or the time of year, what game I'm playing right now. I'm just playing Fall Guys with my buddies because there's nothing out real right now, and it's just
Yeah.
a rage enticing game that we all enjoy to yell at each other about.
Mhm.
And then movies, just watching movies, chilling out at home, preferably like the sci-fi or thriller type movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's awesome. I mean, you mentioned earlier you had to, study Kane and Undertaker and stuff like that. So just watching film and stuff like that is cool.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, at least every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually when I'm doing cardio at the gym is I usually just put on a match, something completely random.
Yeah. Now, just a quick side question I thought of, like, when you're watching, are you searching for something specific, or you just like, does it just depend on what you're like, what are you looking for when you're studying stuff?
So usually, the way I study is usually I just pick out a wrestler that I need to study. For example, like Kane or Undertaker, I'll just look
Mm,
up one of their matches, and if it's Undertaker, it's usually like the 2005 area. Same with Kane, and then
mm,
people like Keith Lee or Gunther, it's usually their NXT days.
mm.
And then Gunther now, I mean, he's having great matches on Raw and stuff, so could be even from those tapings. But it's kind of just all a crapshoot where I'm just at right before cardio, I sit down and just go through the internet and see what I find, what intrigues me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then bouncing back to WWE stuff, I just because you're a Gunther guy, I love Gunther
Yeah,
also. He had that great match with Jay last night, gets interrupted. But who do you think is going to dethrone him? Like he's been champ for so long. I don't see it happening, before Mania. I know you said that Chad Gable match, but I don't know. Like I'm a huge Ilya Dragunov fan personally. I think
yeah,
it'd be great because I think he dethroned him in NXT
he
UK.
did, yeah.
It'd be
I
cool if I feel like you could still keep Gunther's like reputation by being like, oh, Ilya's the only guy that can beat him or something like that.
Yeah,
How do you see him losing that title? It seems like he's just gonna hold on to it forever.
I would say Dragunov, and then I could also see, Pete Dunne because they could do a callback to Gunther dethroning his reign at NXT. Now Pete Dunne can get it back to them, so they can kinda keep that rivalry going back and forth, and it doesn't really have to be a back and forth rivalry, but it can just be every couple of years, these guys get the opportunity to take each other out type situation.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. No, I'm glad I got to pick your brain. I do these interviews sometimes. I'm like, shoot, I wanted to ask him about WWE stuff also.
Right.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's all I have for you this morning. That was amazing. Thanks for joining me. If you just want to plug your socials, like where can we find you if for people that don't already?
Yeah, absolutely. So on all social media, it's Sam H. Holloway. Holloway spelled Hollo way, Way. And then you'll find me for the next couple of weeks throughout the Midwest area and then Canada. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. I can't wait to watch your journey. Hopefully I can see you in like a PPW or something like that one of these times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much again. Can't wait to watch your journey and see where it goes.
Yeah, thank you so much.